Hello everyone. Today's my lecture is on classification of nerve fibers. So basis of the classification. So nerve fibers are classified by 6 different methods. The basis of the classification differs in each method. So there are different methods of the classification are as follows like different methods to classify the nerve fibers. First of all, depending upon the structure, depending upon the distribution, depending upon the origin, depending upon the function, depending upon the secretion of the neurotransmitter, and depending upon the diameter and conduction of impulse. And that classification is known as Erlanger-Gasser's classification. So first of all, depending upon the structure. Depending upon the structure, the nerve fibers are classified into two types, myelinated nerve fiber and non-myelinated nerve fiber. Myelinated nerve fibers are the nerve fibers that are covered by the myelin sheath, and non-myelinated nerve fibers are the nerve fibers which are not covered by myelin sheath. Then depending upon the distribution. So depending upon the distribution, the nerve fibers are classified into two types, somatic nerve fibers and autonomic nerve fibers. Somatic nerve fibers supply the skeletal muscles of the body, and visceral or autonomic nerve fibers supply the various internal organs of the body. Then depending upon the origin, the nerve fibers are divided into two types, cranial nerve fibers and spinal nerve fibers. Cranial nerve fibers arising from the brain are called cranial nerve fibers, and the nerve fibers arising from the spinal cord are known as spinal nerve fibers. Then depending upon the function, the nerve fibers are classified into two types, sensory nerve fibers and motor nerve fibers. So sensory nerve fibers carry the sensory impulses from the different parts of the body to the central nervous system. And these nerve fibers are also known as afferent nerve fibers. Now motor nerve fibers that carry the motor impulses from the central nervous system to different parts of the body. And these nerve fibers are also known as efferent nerve fibers. Then depending upon the secretion of the neurotransmitters, the nerve fibers are divided into two types, adrenergic nerve fibers and cholinergic nerve fibers. Adrenergic nerve fibers that secrete noradrenaline and cholinergic nerve fibers secrete acetylcholine. Then Erlanger-Gasser's classification. So this is the most popular classification of the nerve fiber based on their diameter and conduction velocities. Broadly, the fibers are classified into three categories, A, B and C. So first of all, about the type A nerve fibers. These are the fastest conducting fibers with the conduction velocity that ranges from 70 to 120 meter per second. And the fiber diameter varies from 12 to 20 micrometer. Type A fibers are further subdivided into alpha, beta, gamma and delta fibers. So this is the table. So A alpha fiber type. Their diameter is about 12 to 20 and conduction velocity is about 70 to 120 meter per second. And functions of the A alpha fibers are for proprioception, and these are the somatic motor nerve fibers. A beta nerve fibers that are responsible for the touch and pressure sensation, and these are the motor nerve fibers. And the fibers diameter are about 5 to 12 micrometer and conduction velocity 30 to 70 meter per second. And A gamma fibers These are the motor to muscle spindles and diameter which is about 3 to 6 micrometer and conduction velocity which is about 50 to 30 meter per second. A delta fibers are mainly for the pain, cold and touch sensation and the diameter which is about 2 to 5 and conduction velocity which is about 12 to 30 meter per second. And B fibers. These are mainly preganglionic autonomic and diameter is about less than 3 micrometer. Conduction velocity which is about 3 to 15 meter per second. And C fibers are mainly two types, dorsal root and sympathetic. So dorsal root C fibers are mainly for pain and temperature and some are also mechanoreceptors. Fiber diameter which is about 0.4 to 1.2 micrometer and conduction velocity which is about 0.5 to 2 meter per second. C sympathetic. These are mainly postganglionic sympathetic fibers and their diameter are which is about 0.3 to 1.3 micrometer and conduction velocity which is about 0.7 to 2.3 meter per second. So A alpha fibers supply mainly extraphyseal fibers in the skeletal muscle and also carry proprioception. A beta fibers carry touch pressure sensation and acts as a motor fibers. A gamma fibers supply the intraphyseal fibers in muscle spindles and A delta fibers are mainly fast conducting nociceptive fibers. Type B fibers. These are the preganglionic, autonomic, afferent and efferent fibers and they have a diameter of less than 3 micrometer and conduction velocity ranging from 3 to 15 meter per second. Type C nerve fibers. These are unmyelinated nerve fibers and these are subdivided into two broad categories. Dorsal root fibers that carry various sensations and have a diameter of about 0.4 to 1.2 micrometer and their conduction velocity varies from 0.5 to 2 meter per second. And postganglionic sympathetic fibers with diameter of about 0.3 to 1.3 micrometer and conduction velocity of 0.7 to 2.3 meter per second. Then numerical classification. Sensory nerve fibers are typed into 1A, 1B, 2, 3 and 4. A comparison of the numerical classification and the later classification which is shown in this table. Now numerical classification by Lloyd and Hunt for sensory neurons. So number 1A means that is a fiber A alpha. So origin from muscle spindle from annulospiral endings and again 1B is also fiber type A alpha and origin from the Golgi tendon organ. And 2 that is A beta. So muscle spindle from the flower spray ending and from touch pressure receptor. 3 that is A delta fibers and origin from pain and cold receptors and some touch receptors. Then 4 fiber type is C fibers in dorsal root and origin from the pain and temperature receptors and other receptors. So this is a numerical classification by Lloyd and Hunt for sensory neurons. Then classification by susceptibility to various agents like hypoxia, pressure and local anesthetics. Hypoxia. Type B fibers are most susceptible to hypoxia and type C that is a least susceptible. For pressure, type A fibers are most susceptible to pressure and type C is the least. This is because of the fiber diameter. and local anesthetics. Type C fibers are most susceptible to local anesthetics and type A is the least susceptible. So this is a tabulated form of the physioclinical classification. So for hypoxia, B fibers are the most susceptible and C fibers are least susceptible and intermediate is A. And for pressure, A fibers are most susceptible and C fibers are least susceptible and intermediate is B. And for local anesthesia, C fibers are most susceptible and A fibers are least susceptible and B fibers are intermediate. Thank you.